Hi viewers, and welcome to another iRacing video. Since my return to iRacing, I've been having a pretty rough time with my safety rating. Due to lack of practice and also getting unlucky in some races, it's tumbled from Class A 3.62 down to Class A 2.15 in only a matter of a couple of weeks. Ultimately, if I'm not careful, I'm at risk of getting demoted down to Class B. This made me think, why not create a video that explains what the safety rating in iRacing is, how it works, and ultimately how you can go about increasing it. So, at its heart, the iRacing safety rating is all about ensuring drivers race clean and avoid accidents. Although racing incidents do happen in real life, people will often try to avoid causing a collision due to risk of injury, cost of repair, or even penalties within their sport. However, when online racing first became a thing, this was definitely not the case. Many people would just ram their opponents off the track to try to make progress. You had nothing to lose by driving dirty, so most drivers would just punt off the car ahead and everyone would try to win the race in turn 1. You could get lucky in some leagues where drivers would drive with respect, but any public lobby was full of rammers. So how do you get the drivers to respect each other and drive cleanly when there's no downside not to? The answer was a safety rating. These days, iRacing, Gran Turismo Sport, Assetto Corsa Competizione, they all have a concept of a safety rating in place, which hopefully tries to make the driver drive a bit more respectfully to each other. But how does it work? In iRacing, you get given a license class and a number. The starting license is rookie and the number is 2.5. This license determines which races you can participate in. The higher the license, the more opportunities open up for you in your iRacing career. The licenses are Rookie, Class D, Class C, Class B, Class A, and if you're really good, the Pro. As you can see here, with a rookie license, you're restricted to only these race series. All the fun stuff in my opinion is out of rookies. For example, if you want to race in the Porsche Cup Series, you'll need a Class C license. Want to run in Le Mans endurance races? You'll need a B license for that. The only exception to this is that it is possible to compete in the class above without a class promotion, providing your safety rating is above 4.0. But we'll get to that later. I guess we should talk about the number on your safety rating. The number on your rating is your progression towards the next license. Get the number high enough and you'll be rewarded with the next license class above, providing you meet the minimum race participation. There's a helpful area in your race participation screen at the bottom that shows you what you need to do to achieve the minimum race participation at the current license class. You'll need to compete in events that show as MPR for the next level, which can be seen on the series screen. When you get promoted will depend on how high the number is. If you get it above 3.0 and meet the minimum race participation, you'll get promoted at the end of the current racing series, which typically lasts for about 13 weeks. If you have met the minimum race participation and want to accelerate this, you'll need to get it above 4.0 to be fast-tracked to the next license class immediately. Don't forget though, this number can also go backwards if you cause too many incidents, and if the safety rating number goes too low, you may actually lose your current license and drop to the one below if you're not careful. So what is an incident and how is the safety rating number even calculated? In iRacing, you're given an incident point whenever you do anything that is deemed to be unsafe. This could be as minor as just slightly going off track for 1x, spinning the car or losing control for 2x, or causing a bad collision with another car for 4x. The way incidents are handled in iRacing is based on a no-blame system. It would be too hard to know who was at fault in a given situation, so when a collision happens, both drivers are given the penalty for the incident points. Here you can see an example where on one lap I hit the car in front and on another lap I was hit from behind on the same corner. Unfortunately, in both situations I got 4x incident points, and so did the other cars. This could be seen as unfair, but the whole point is to make the drivers be respectful to each other and for us to have clean races. Even if somebody else hits you, you could be driving more aware of the situation around you. For example, not diving into a gap that doesn't really exist, or perhaps moving around less when other cars are around you. It's your responsibility to try to make sure that you don't get into that collision, even when there's a bad driver. So now that we've covered incidents, how is the actual safety rating number calculated? At its core, it's determined by working out how many corners you have taken per incident in official sessions. Struggle to make it one lap without going off track several times? Your rating probably fall. Manage to drive the whole race, avoiding any incidents at all? It will definitely rise. It sounds simple, but it's actually a bit more complicated than that. The first complication comes from the fact that, depending on your license, the number of corners per incident you need for certain numbers changes. As you can see here, to get a 3.0 safety rating in Rookie, you need about 15 corners per incident. However, make it to Class A and you're now needing 90 corners per incident to get the same 3.0 safety rating. This means that the license progression gets harder as you go higher up the licenses, and conversely, as you go up license classes, it becomes easier to lose your high safety rating number as well. Also note, I mentioned this is for only official sessions. If you compete in an unofficial session, either just a fun race or a practice, then the incidents won't actually do any damage to your safety rating. However, if you see it saying official in the top left of your screen, then it means it will be counting. One final part to add to the confusion is that it is said that the incidents per corner are weighted so that more recent incidents affect it more than incidents happening a long time ago, e.g. 200 corners ago for instance. So I've covered the basics of how the rating goes up or down. I'm now going to share my personal tips for helping increase this, especially if you're stuck in Rookies right now. The catch-22 of Rookies is that you need to drive cleanly to increase your safety rating enough to get you out of Rookies. But on the flip side, Rookies is typically carnage. Lots of rookie drivers are losing control all around you and doing silly moves. So even if you try to drive cleanly, you can't stop somebody else hitting you. My best suggestion is, if you're really focused on safety rating, then that should be your focus, to drive safe and not win the race. Safety rating has no correlation to the position you finish the race. Don't take any risks, keep lots of space to the cars around you, drive cleanly, and even be prepared to give up a position to a car behind you if you think it may be a reckless move against you. Your focus should be to get a license class that lets you move to a safer series and hopefully cleaner races, where then you can focus on actually racing and going for the win. There's one tactic, often mentioned, which is to actually start from the pit lane to avoid the inevitable pile-up at turn 1. However, I find this can sometimes vary in success. Often, you'll catch up the worst drivers, e.g. the ones that have already spun out, quickly from starting in the pits. My preferred tactic to avoid pile-ups into turn 1 is to ensure I qualify near the front, and then focus on keeping it safe. Although it still won't guarantee avoidance of accidents, I find that typically near the front of the grid, you can usually avoid a lot of the early accidents that happen compared to the back of the grid. If you get on pole and lead the race on your own at the front, then there's no one else to hit. Another obvious tip is just to practice. As I mentioned earlier, in unofficial or practice sessions, the incidents don't count against you. So it's worth you either racing alone in a test session or doing lots of practice sessions before diving into a race. Not only will it make it more likely that you can run clean laps consistently, but it will also make it more likely that you'll qualify further up the grid, and as mentioned previously, this should leave you in a safer place in the race. One thing to note is that official sessions that are not actually the race also count, but are on a reduced weighting. For example, incidents in qualifying or time trials also count, but are a factor of about 0.35 compared to races. The fact that the qualifying sessions and time trials actually do count towards safety ratings can actually be a big advantage to you if you want to increase your safety rating. I've actually once solely used time trials, one after another, to increase my safety rating enough to get the license above, without even doing a single race. My final tip is, since the rating is based on corners per incident, the more corners you can run cleanly in a session, the better the increase will be. Pretty obvious, right? But this can actually be used to your advantage in this situation. Tracks like the Nordschleife, for example, have lots and lots of corners. So provided you can drive it cleanly, even in a time trial, you'll gain quite a lot of safety rating by doing laps at that track. Remember, you don't need to set the best time or win, so lap it smoothly and cleanly, even below your normal pace. Another good example for getting safety rating is endurance races at fairly safe tracks. The Daytona 24-hour race often ends up with a lot of the participants getting Class A 4.99, which is the highest rating, by the end of it. Simply, it's a relatively easy track to drive cleanly, with lots of runoff and a fairly simple layout, and it's combined with lots of laps, which equals a huge safety rating increase. Although I will try to race cleanly at all times, I'll sometimes just dedicate time to my safety rating, especially when it's taken a big hit. In these situations, I accept my iRating may drop and just focus on getting 0x for a race. That buffer I build up can then be used in close racing situations later on, while going for a win, which could be important for iRating, which I'll cover in a future video. So that wraps up my crash course to safety rating in iRacing. If you think I've missed anything, or you have any other tips, please let me know in the comments section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and if you found this useful, please like and subscribe.